Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto has vampire blood and marriage Anko and Sakura part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. There have been many theories regarding the origins of vampires, that race of man-like demons who roam the world, guaranteed to a life of youth and power and damned to a life of darkness and isolation. There is no such thing as a wrong speculation as each holds some truth on its own. There are those that say they are a clan of humans or angels would sided with Lucifer in the battle against God and his angels, and thus were reduced to their current form as a punishment from God. There are others that say they are the fruits of the forbidden love between humans and demons, whose children are forever filled with the dark desires of the vile demon blood, yet forever clinging to their ever-fading strands of humanity. Very few still believe that in the early days of the world, when the human race has just began its tread upward, the world was plagued with evil, there was one noble clan, in an act of defiance against the neutrality of God, sacrificed itself for eternity by making a pact with the devil himself. For decades, they strived to learn and harness their unholy power, while battling the demons, monsters, and divinities that cursed this world. Finally, after the dust from the final last battle had cleared, with over half of the clan having been wiped out, and the world was finally safe. It during this hour of celebration that they found out about how truly vile their pact with the devil had been and just how much they have damned their generations for millenniums to come. With the demons of the world gone, scared humans turned back to greedy humans, as the other clans soon turned their hatred toward this noble clan, eager to take their ample wealth and power. Trying to protect their ancient family line, the clan tried to fight off hordes and hordes of armies, even other clans who also made similar dark pacts in the war against the demons, but soon all the clan's branch members had sacrificed their lives for the safety of the main branch. Seeing how truly wicked and damned this land was, the chief of the clan, the one who originally made the pact with the devil, using a forbidden jutsu, exchanged his eternal life and damned his soul forever in hell by turning himself into a demon and using his last few moments of consciousness as a human to forever seal the clan's dark powers and sending the clan a land far, far away. So for centuries, the remaining royal members of the clan, still possessing certain key traits of a vampire such as immortality and a hunger for blood, wandered the uninhabitable land they were sent to, seeking to their sanctuary. That was when they finally reached the elemental countries during their war against a small clan of demons that plagued their land. Joining forces with the countries, they soon achieved victory. In light of their power and virtue, one of the newly established villages offered them an invitation to be a part of the Hidden Leaf Village, even after learning about their curse. So the clan finally settled down after their long exodus. With only a few top officials of the council knowing the truth about the clan, and thanks to the additional sealing techniques that this village had, they were able to seal and suppress their remaining desire and hidden abilities, and used powerful illusions to make themselves seem like they were aging. As time passed, and their blood mixed with those of other clans, their blood began to slowly reverse back to their original form. Even the descendants were not told about the truth of their heritage as they, too, were caught up in the illusion. This clan soon became the most powerful clan in all of Konoha, holding all the virtues and merits that ran in their noble blood, intertwined with the dark blood of the devil that can never be removed. Only the Hyuga and Uchiha rivaled them in power and influence. Finally, one day, one of its members even managed to achieve the title of Hokage, the most prestige title in the entire village. That is when tragedy struck again, as the wheel of fate began to turn once more. After years and generations of relative peace, the land was not ready for the coming of another demon, one whose power rivaled that of all others they had fought before. As the Kyubi, the nine-tailed fox demon, appeared out of nowhere, even the entire clan and village could not stop it. As the death toll climbed and the very existence of the village was in danger, the Yondaime used his trump card, a forbidden sealing technique that his clan created in the early days soon after the union between their clan and the rest of the village. Forced to seal the demon in a body of a clan member, he had to make the ultimate sacrifice. He sealed it in the body of the last surviving member of the entire clan, his newborn child. As time passed, and the child grew up as a normal boy, never knowing about his true heritage, it seemed as if the clan's legacy would finally fade into the realm of myths and legends, taking with it all the secrets it held. Fate, however, had a different plan. Through a simple change, the future of this particular boy and world would be forever altered from its original course. We begin our story in the Forest of Death in the Hidden Leaf Village during their annual Chunin exam. Invisible clouds. The sun was high in the sky, and there was not a cloud in sight. But through the dense trees of the Forest of Death, it meant nothing. For this particular patch of earth seemed to have been abandoned by Mother Nature, for it gave off an aura of vile corruption. What idiotic humans without a death wish would dare to venture in? The answer for this day would be the genins of the elemental countries, all competing for their share in the Chunin examination. Each village had sent their very best for this exam. It was a show of power and pride, and no one would be going down without a fight. The Hidden Leaf Village had nominated a large number of teams, even some of their rookie teams. Among their teams, one of the main spotlights was on Team 7, led by Hitaki Kakashi, the infamous copy ninja. They were rumored to have completed a Class A mission, though the details were classified for reasons unknown. The star of the team would be Uchiha Sasuke, the number 1 rookie in the village and the last surviving member of the Uchiha clan. He is always to be trailed by Haruno Sakura, a pink-haired girl that still have not matured enough to let go of a teenage crush. However, after the recent classified mission in the water country, people around her has noticed her behavior has been much improved. Now the last, but not the least, member is the ever loud and surprising, Uzumaki Naruto, a true diamond in the rough. Ever since the battle with the demon of the mist, he has been having nightmares. In one word, they were terrifying. Depictions and images of wars, battles, massacres, murders, and suicides each crept their way into his mind on certain nights, bitter memories of his childhood on other nights, and rare images of people and places he had never seen before in the remaining nights. He has always been an energetic boy, so the lack of sleep never showed much, but he didn't know how long he can keep the charade up. He tried to remember the details in these nightmares, but whenever he tried he would get a splitting headache, his back muscle would hurt, and his body would feel like it was on fire. He didn't want to bother Iruka-sensei, the Hokage, or Kakashi-sensei with his problems, especially during this busy season. He did not want to turn to just anyone, for if rumors got out about this, well, let's just say he was enough of an outcast already in this village. So since he didn't have anyone else to turn to, he just had to try and ignore them, and hope they will fade with time. No one noticed his change in attitude, except he was less vibrant and spontaneous now, but most others thought it was simply a case of him finally maturing. The only big change in him was that ramen can no longer satisfy him anymore. After he had come back from the mission, he grew sick just from the smell of ramen, which horrified him and the shopkeepers beyond recognition. They even began offering free samples and 2-for-1 deals to him, but still it didn't work. He found that he had taken a liking to meat, and that he liked them cooked as rare as possible. He would have gone to a doctor, but he disliked how the doctors and nurses at the hospital treated him as if he had leprosy. On the plus side, he seems to be getting better, though ramen still doesn't seem nearly as addictive as before, he can now tolerate it. But in the short span of time he wasn't eating ramen, 2 shops already went bankrupt and changed their businesses to steakhouse and sukiyaki. Dobi, stop daydreaming and pay attention. That would be the ever so sensitive Sasuke, causing Naruto to get snap out of his train of thoughts. Mumbling under his breath, Naruto put his worries on the side and listened. So come and get your scrolls now. We will begin soon after. That will be all. Naruto facefaulted. Ah crap, just when I was planning on surprising Sakura-chan with my maturity and new sense of responsibility, this had to happen. I just gotta try to make my way through this and hope to dear God that Sasuke doesn't notice. And as luck would have it, Sasuke, thanks to his calm and detached nature, was an unusually observant person. He smirked and asked Naruto, "So you got all the instructions right?" "Oh, of course, what you think I am, an idiot?" Naruto responded a little too quickly, and tried to hide his nervousness by laughing. "I never doubted you for a second. So tell me, what's your plan?" Naruto just stared at him for a little too long and muttered curses in his head that this PG-13 story should not show, but being a quick thinker, he thought of an idea. "Why don't you tell me yours first? Unless you're afraid mine is better than that of the infamous Uchiha Sasuke." Sasuke normally wouldn't care much about the idiot not paying attention, but he will never forgive anyone for belittling his family name. So, he rose to the challenge. "Fine, since we all understand that the target of our mission is to steal the protector from our assigned Junin, I suggest we go about it by a flanking attack. Now in this Naruto will." As Sasuke continued his explanation, Naruto was listened attentively, nodding along as he listened, hoping to catch on all the information he could. What he did not notice was that behind him, Sakura just discovered how hard it was to stifle laughter and breathe at the same time. "Okay, I see. I'm impressed, Sasuke. A truly well-made plan indeed. Now, if it is a guy, the first suggest my harem no jutsu, if it's a girl you can just attack, and if it is Kakashi-sensei, we should try to unmask him as well." Quote. Naruto suddenly felt like he had forgotten something. Didn't the loud examiner mention scrolls? What do scrolls have to do with unmasking? Oh my god, I am going to beat that Sasuke up so bad someday. Although he was thinking this, even if he didn't want to admit it, he was glad that Sasuke seems to be lightening up a little. Besides, as a true prankster, he doesn't take it to mind all that much. Okay, haha, you had your little fun." Naruto laughed sarcastically. "Fine, I admit it, I didn't get all of it. Would you, Sakura, mind stop laughing on the floor, and you, Sasuke, stop snickering and turn back to your normal antisocial self, and just tell me the real instructions?" Naruto sighed, beginning to lose his patience. Finally, as his eyes began twitching, the two finally stopped and told him. The team then began to make their plans, but not without an occasional tease against each other. Though they fumed and felt nervous about this exam, they still felt relaxed at heart. In another part of the village, the Hokage was busy filing paperwork. He looked forward to the coming Chunin exam, especially to a few of the candidates. And almost instinctively, his eyes went to the wall hangings of the other three Hokages, especially the Yondaime. Just when he was about to sigh and go back to work, he heard a knock on the door. "Come in, Hokage-sama. I am here to report something that the night shift guards have been noticing lately," reported an Anbu captain. The Sandame's eyes narrowed the slightest bit, and calmly replied, "Yes. We have been noticing a dark aura during the nights, thought it is faint, we are sure it is there. Some of the men think it is similar but not quite the same as that of the Kyuubi. Even though it has the same touch of despicable presence, instead of anger, this one is filled with sorrow and in hunger." The Anbu captain was beginning to become uneasy just by continuing to describe the aura he felt during those nights. "But regardless, I request your permission to immediately launch an investigation regarding this. Its presence has been getting weaker lately, and if we do not act now, we may lose our chance to find out the cause, so." "That's enough," the Hokage interrupted. His normal calm and soothing tone has been replaced by one of seriousness. But nothing," the Hokage nearly shouted. "You and your men are hereby under my direct order to forget all information you have just revealed to me and abandon all of your curiosity. There never was any dark auras, it was all a figment of your imagination due to the exhaustion from the night shifts. Your team is to be hereby given a 3-day rest and then reassigned to a daytime post. Disregarding these orders will result in your team's immediate suspension, and you will all be turned into genins once more. Is that understood?" The Anbu captain, having survived countless battles and lethal wounds, could do nothing but reply in affirmative to the Hokage-sama's direct order. After bowing in respect, he quickly left to inform his squad of the news. After being left alone, the Hokage thought to himself. An aura similar to that of the Kyuubi, yet possessing a mixture of sorrow and hunger. Sorrow and hunger. Those two words reminds me of so many things. The loss of loved ones and the acknowledgement of new ones, much like that Naruto. Even hunger seems to describe that bottomless pit he call a stomach for ramen. Even on my salary, raising him wouldn't be easy. The Hokage warmly recalled the memories and scenes of the child, his father, their clan. No, it couldn't possibly be. There is no way for that cursed blood to activate itself again. Yet, I can't help shake off this feeling that something is about to happen. The Hokage walked up to his glass ball and looked into it at a laughing image of Naruto. Naruto, my dear boy, be strong in the face of whatever danger the fates have in store for you. Remember that you are not destined anything, you must fight for your own future and destiny. Perhaps it is time I call Jiraiya back from his travels, he may be needed soon. The Hokage signed while rubbing his temples. He looked at the time, it should be starting now. The gates leading into the center of the Forest of Death opened, and all 12 teams entered. Part 2 of the Chunin exam has just begun. Unforeseen shift. A flat eterno, fuerent ogni dei. I don't need a wedding or a marriage, just being with you is enough. Let's flee far away from the sanctuary of God forever. Even if I am to be damned to purgatory, as long as you are with me, I will have no regret. God, mankind is on the brink of extinction and you talk about God. You must never use that forbidden jutsu, even at the risk of our clan fading into the realm of history and myths. We, the council, has convened to decide that we will hereby disacknowledge the existence of the Uzumaki clan. God has abandoned us all. God will be with us always. This unholy marriage will never be allowed. Mizuki, think about what exactly you will be doing. You have betrayed us all. You actually think it will be a real negotiation. We may be sinners, but we sin for necessity, never for greed. Yondaime-sama, something tragic has just happened. There is no other choice. Take every last surviving member and wait for me at the holy shrine. May God have mercy on our souls. Was this what destiny really had in store for us? No more, Naruto pleaded in his sleep. Ever since Naruto entered the forest, he had felt an odd feeling in the pit of his stomach and on the back of his hair. It wasn't fear, but more like that of comfort, as if he had been here before. But with his teammates depending on his every action, he needed to stay focused. Soon they were battling a team from the Hidden Rain village for their scroll. It was a long battle that drained the energy out of all of them. In the end of the battle, Team 7 was victorious. Sasuke had bloody bruises all across his body, and Sakura came out matching Sasuke bruise for bruise with a light, yet thin cut on her shoulder to match. As Sakura was patching herself up, Naruto, having fainted out of exhaustion, was beginning to stir on the ground besides them. Out of all of them, Naruto had contributed to this battle the most, and though Sasuke may never say it, he was impressed, yet also a little insecure about the recent rapid growth in Naruto. They had agreed to let the poor boy rest while they each took turns standing guard. Confute, in nomine Dei, confute illic memorias, Naruto continued to murmur these strange words, as he struggled in his sleep. Sakura wasn't sure what to make of this, so she quickly wakes Sasuke up. Sasuke had never heard this exotic language before, and so he and Sakura leaned down to hear it better and were surprised at seeing tears flowing down from Naruto's eyes. They didn't know what to do about it, but seeing as how he was struggling so much, they thought it best to wake him up. Sasuke, being the considerate person that he was, looked around them for something he could use. He found a patch of mushroom found only in the Konoha. It was a delicacy because it had an immensely spicy taste blended with a garlic flavor. Our number 1 rookie ninja took some and forced it down Naruto's throat through basic techniques all ninjas must know to treat their comrades on the battlefield by forcing them to swallow medicine even while unconscious. Naruto's eyes abruptly opened and he sprang. Atsui! He shouted on the top of his lung. And after he had run circles around the area where they were resting, he noticed the chuckle that Naruto was starting to find extremely irritating. Sasuke, Temai, this is the. Suddenly, a wave of nausea overcame his entire body as he collapsed to his knees. He felt his body heat up and sweat collecting on his forehead. He quickly noticed a disgusting scent in his mouth. As he threw it all up from his system, he immediately recognized what it was. Because of the popularity and abundance of this species of mushroom, almost all ramen shops in the Konoha adds just a little bit to their dishes to bring out the flavor. But years of eating ramen full of this stuff had done nothing to him. He even ate a bowl with an extra amount of this mushroom for flavoring just yesterday. Why was it bothering him so much now? As he noticed the worried stare of Sakura and, he could have sworn, of Sasuke, he decided to let it go for now. We just got our scroll, we better hurry to the tower before some other team attacks us. I believe just lie to them about this, it's probably just an upset stomach or something. Got to make a mental note to myself to get Sasuke back for that. Hey, he has never been defeated by the harem no jutsu. I think, we can finally find out if Sasuke really is a closet pervert at heart. Hee, that was nothing, don't worry about it, just an upset stomach from eating too much ramen. Naruto laughed sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. In the face of such a stupid lie that only Uzumaki Naruto can make, the two others felt at least better he was returning to his normal self, yet they made a mental note to keep an eye on him. Sasuke was the first to get back to the business at hand. Okay, let's make our way to the tower. If we don't get into any fights, we should be there in 2 hours without rest. I suggest we travel to one click from the tower and then slow down in order to. Out of nowhere, a giant snake appeared behind Naruto and swallowed him whole before quickly vanishing. Just as Sasuke and Sakura recovered from their initial shock, they felt the hairs on the back of their necks stand up and sensed an aura that brought up images of blood and death in their minds. As they halted in their step and turned around, they noticed a pale-faced, long-haired man standing no too far away with the most wicked grin plastered on his snake-like face. Uchiha Sasuke, I presume. You can call me Orochimaru, but you can just call me Orochi. I'm quite infamous in the village. You know, the man spoke with such a creepy voice, that it took Sakura a lot of effort just to keep herself from shuddering at its sound. I have waited a long time to meet you, please accept this gift from me. Just then, he narrowed his dark eyes and gave out his killing intent to the two young genins. Sasuke and Sakura froze in their step. As they were reading themselves to get out of way of whatever jutsu the dangerous-looking man seemed to have been preparing for them, they had no idea what they were about to experience. Sakura had heard about this from her father, but the actual experience was nothing like what she imagined. The blood, the pain, the anger, the lust, and the urges, they were overwhelming to her senses. She would have thrown up from utter disgust if her body hadn't stopped responding to her commands. What is happening? I'm not ready for this. Someone help me. Sasuke-kun. Naruto. Sakura's mind screamed. What the hell is this? This guy is on a whole another level. We gotta get out of here. I don't want to die yet. Got to get out of her. Move. Damn it. Move. For the love of God, move. Sasuke screamed to himself. As they saw out of the corner of their eyes, the man slithering toward them, they were running out of options. A giant snake suddenly appeared behind the man and rushed toward the two genins. Sasuke, out of desperation, used his remaining ounce of willpower and stabbed himself in the leg with the kunai and hurled himself at Sakura, trying to push themselves out of the way of the snake. But the kunai-embedded leg slowed him down dramatically and he knew they weren't going to make. And he still have not recovered enough to use any ninjutsu to save them. As they saw the snake bearing down at them at an angle, ready to crush them, they could do nothing but close their eyes and pray for something, anything to save them. Kage Bunshin no Justu. As the snake's upper half exploded in a shower, Naruto's, Sasuke and Sakura watched this feeling a sense of relief flowing within them. But their victory was cut short as two other snakes soon launched themselves at the team. With each snake going after each boy, just as Sakura was about to go help one of them, she felt a sharp pain on her shoulder blades and promptly collapsed to the ground. I can't have you intervening with my plans for your beloved Sasuke-kun, but don't worry, I may have uses for you later in bringing him under my control. Orochimaru smirked and headed toward Sasuke. This one's much faster than the last one. Naruto thought as he led the snake to the trap his buncheons should be just about finished in creating. I need to get back soon. That idiot Sasuke didn't seem like his normal self back there. Chikusho. Why am I still running? Have I not improved at all in these last few years? Am I going to stay this weak forever? Sasuke screamed in his mind as he jumped free trees to trees in panic, trying to outrun the snake that he couldn't even see anymore. Suddenly the snake sprang up in front of him, only out of instinct did he jump out of the way. In his moment of panic, he stumbled through his seals and yelled out, Kaden Karyu Enden. But the poorly performed jutsu turned out to have half the speed that it should have had, and ended up being dodged by the surprisingly agile snake. Landing on an extended branch, just as he was about to yell, Tadasuke ni, the snake had been stopped by an angry Naruto. What's wrong, scaredy cat? Do you want your big brother to come and help you? The feline-looking Naruto yelled to Sasuke. Then Sasuke suddenly noticed the tears and caked blood on Naruto's clothes. Then just as he was to retort, he saw Orochimaru launch at him and get engaged in combat with Naruto. That's a very special cage buncheon I created just for you, Naruto-kun, I hope it keeps you entertained. Original said above the snake's head. Sasuke has had enough of all this patronizing and ignoring of his existence. I will get above this small hurdle and kill my brother. Next to my goal, nothing is important. No room for failure, either I succeed or I will die. He quickly threw a kunai at Orochimaru, and just as Orochimaru was about to catch it, Sasuke muttered, Kage kunai no justu, and several hidden kunais appeared around the original. Orochimaru didn't feel quite like using an advanced just use, so he jumped off the snake's head. At that instant, Sasuke completed a complex set of hand seals and yelled, Kaden Gukaku no Jutsu. The fiery blaze consumed the large snake, defeating it. But before he had time to recover from the large amount of charka he just exhausted, he heard, Kuchio's no Jutsu, nearby. Just then he spotted Orochimaru bearing down with another snake. Deciding to attack the problem at the source, Sasuke launched a shuriken with a charka string tied to it. Yelling out, Kage Shuriken no Jutsu, he then let the shuriken bind Orochimaru to a large tree. Just as the snake was bearing down on him, he remained perfectly calm, but still fueled by the adrenaline rush from the battle that he knew was over his head, he completed another set of jutsu, and yelled, Kaden Ryuka no Jutsu, and extended the jutsu long enough to let the stream of flame reach Orochimaru, ignoring the incoming snake and bracing himself for impact. He felt satisfied but suspicious at the burnt figure of Orochimaru as he felt some of his ribs breaking at the impact of the gigantic snake. But then as he slowly got up, he saw the figure turn into nothing but mud, and saw Orochimaru once more on the head of the snake. Very nice, my dear boy, but I'm afraid the time for fun and games is over. Orochimaru smirked and made a few seals with a single hand, Kanashibari no Jutsu. Sasuke felt himself unable to move at all. It was unlike the killing intent, because this time he couldn't even move a single finger. Orochimaru then quickly gave Sasuke his real present, the grand finale, the cursed seal. Sasuke suddenly felt a burning sensation on his neck that quickly spread to the rest of his body and promptly fainted. As Orochimaru smiled at his little handiwork, he suddenly stiffened and felt that something was coming. Suddenly 24 Naruto came throwing kunais and kicking Orochimaru. Still feeling the strain from giving the seal, a single kick landed on his face. Damn, this kid is annoying. Who would have thought the Kyuubi's vessel is able to use some of its power? This can turn into a potential threat. Well, we can fix that. Orochimaru did his favorite evil grin and yelled, Chakra Kyushu, as he landed an open palm punch to Naruto's chest, draining much of Naruto's chakra and some of the Kyuubi's. That was amazing. The boy's stamina is in a Chunin level, but the Kyuubi's was unbelievable. This could turn dangerous if it was to awaken. So he ordered his snake to bash the now drained Naruto around a few times on the ground, breaking a number of his bones and dislocating his left arm. Then it picked the still conscious Naruto up from the ground by the neck using its tail. As the snake suspended Naruto in mid-air, Orochimaru readied a seal for Naruto that would stop him from using the Kyuubi's chakra. Goguufuin. He yelled and slammed his palms onto Naruto's exposed stomach, causing Naruto to go unconscious from both the pain and the sudden changes in his body. As he was about to fling the now unconscious boy aside, he suddenly thought of something. If the rumors behind his childhood here in the Konoha are true, there may be a chance I make good use of him, Orochimaru pondered in his dark mind. With the Kyuubi on my side, I may have a true trump card on my hand that will utterly crush the Konoha. Looking at the now limp Naruto hanging in midair, the smirk he wore soon turned into a truly wicked grin. And so Orochimaru made his move. He brought Naruto close to him, revealed his neck, and then gave him the cursed seal. Absque nunc sumus advocati diaboli. Darkness. The darkness I've known all my life. Isolation. Fear. Hatred. Resentment. Is that all my life ever will be? Excite. Naruto blinked his eyes and woke up to the sound of a strange voice. It's calm and serene, yet it has a hint of coldness and. It was then he finally noticed that his whole body was lying in cold water. He then got into an upright position and looked around. It was a dark tunnel, with a light source that can't be seen. Where the hell am I? Naruto wondered out loud as he found the strength to stand up. Hic et nunc. What the? Naruto had thought the voice was only a dream. Maybe this is still a dream. So he pinched his cheeks. Ouch! He exclaimed. So that wasn't such a good idea. But that voice. Suddenly a clashing noise could be heard to his left. Naruto turned around only to find the way blocked by a circular crest or seal that looks a lot like Sasuke's Sharingan. He walked even closer and noticed the water became pitch black. As he got next to the object, he could hear something resembling a battle, but without any sound of metal or shouting. And as soon as it had begun, the sounds faded away. Exceed. There is that voice again. That same deep, sorrowful voice. That beautiful whisper. It makes the heart tremble and the soul relaxed. It's a voice that I feel I've heard before. Maybe in another lifetime. Naruto thought as he turned right and saw in the distance an opening in the tunnel. It had a blue color. Who are you? Naruto shouted, slowly beginning to walk toward the opening. Some skellum. I don't understand what you're saying. Where am I? Naruto shouted once again. As he got closer to the opening, he noticed a hint of red beginning to swirl with the blue, as if in battle with one another. Via Dolorosa. Stop talking like that. What is this place? Naruto shouted in frustration. Now the red is beginning to overwhelm the blue. In the midst of the struggle, Naruto also noticed that the water has become a darkish red, and the water level had risen to his knee. Nostrum carcerum. I don't understand. What are you saying? Why am I here? Naruto was beginning to lose his temper. The water had risen to his thighs now, and just as he noticed that all traces of blue had disappeared, the smell came. He was no stranger to the smell. No ninja will ever be. It was blood. That thick, metallic taste. What the hell is this? Mens rea. The stench that made him want to throw up had disappeared, instead, in its wake, left a feeling deep in him. It was hard to describe. It was a feeling of nostalgia. Naruto closed his eyes and relished in the smell around him. This must be what catnip is like to cats. Naruto thought in the recesses of his mind that was still free to think. Then all at once, he noticed that the smell was gone again. And in him, it left a hungering. For what? He did not know. But it was strong, much stronger than his hunger for ramen. He opened his eyes only to find that he had just left the tunnel, and was now surrounded by a space of different varieties of red. I see the blood is still part of you. As the voice spoke, The swirling red colors pulsated to every tone and syllable. Hey, I can understand you now. Naruto exclaimed. Suddenly his head hurt. All these things happening to him was giving him a headache. I wish you didn't. The voice sighed and the red colors paled as if in agreement. What do you mean? But first, where am I? And who are you? Naruto managed to say as his headache got worse. The pain on his temple was starting to make his thought process difficult. Who I am is not important. We shall meet again, but until then I have a single advice for you: you are not who you think you are. Ignos mihi, my lost lamb. Naruto suddenly felt an unbearable pain on his back. It felt like someone was ripping his back muscles off. After what seemed like an eternity, the pain stopped, and before he had a chance to examine his wound, he noticed something was wrong. The space soon began to tremble and Naruto soon noticed the water coming back. Then he noticed blue returning to the space and soon the space was swirling with blue instead. Wait. Don't go. What is this? What have you done to me? Naruto shouted as he finally saw that the water was blood, and instead of a river, it was now an entire sea of it. A thick sea of blood as far as the eyes can see, the texture battled against the serene color of blue. It was as if he was between heaven and hell. Suddenly, the disgusting stench came back and before Naruto even had time to shout for help, the water level had risen above his mouth, over his head. He tried to swim upward, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get to the surface. He soon felt himself low on air, yet no matter how hard he struggled, there was no end to the sea of blood. As he began to lose consciousness, he heard the distant sound of battle. Stop! Naruto heard that shout in the distance. Huh, was that Sakura? Naruto thought as he began to start the processing of waking himself. As he went to rub his eyes, a sudden pain in his temple made him remember, was that all a dream? He could hear words in the distance. There was Sakura, Sasuke, and someone he didn't know speaking. The headache was still making it hard for him to think of anything. Suddenly there was a pain on one of his legs. That hurts. Naruto shouted and opened his eyes to find Ino had accidentally stepped over him. Nearby, Shikamaru and Choji noticed the loud-mouthed ninja. Just as Ino began to say, Naruto, where have you been all this? She and the others nearby froze when they saw Naruto's eyes. It wasn't a gentle blue anymore, instead it was a dark, menacing red. Naruto didn't even notice the gaping jaws of the three as his headache was really making it hard for him to do anything. Then suddenly as fast as it came, it resided. As the three watched Naruto blink, suddenly the reddish orbs were gone, and the gentle, innocent blue was back. Was I hallucinating just now? They all thought together. Naruto, glad that the headache was gone, was going to shout once more when he noticed the confused look on the three genins in front of him. What's wrong, Mina? Naruto asked nervously at the gaping stares from the three. The other genins in the area soon took their eyes off Sasuke and onto Naruto, curious at the looks of utter confusion on the three genins near him. As they approached, Naruto began to stand up. Hey, stop looking so scared, it's creeping M. Naruto stopped in mid-sentence as a crushing pain suddenly appeared on his back. Then he remembered his dream and quickly removed his jacket and shirt. The other genins were now around him, including Sasuke and Sakura. There was not a sound in the air, no word could describe the sight that lay in front of them. On Naruto's back, along his spinal cord, was a hideous, long scar, still madly pouring out blood. Aaron Fortuna contra nobis ab initio. Damn. That snake bastard actually dares to show his face here again. I will kill him. I swear my life on it. A female Junin screamed in her mind as she jumped from tree to tree in pure rage. If it wasn't for a lifetime of training, she would have slipped somewhere along the line and crashed her head by now. Matarashi Anko had just received reports of corpses with their faces melted off from Chunins earlier, and upon investigating, she was suddenly reminded of a past that she thought she was finally beginning to forget. As soon as she had sent a report of her discovery to the Hokage through one of the Chunins, she was on her way. Time and distance were irrelevant to her as she speeded through the woods, only that nightmarish past mattered. Instinctively, she reached up and touched her cursed seal. The memories it sparked in her brought only pain and fury to her heart. Before the memories could flash back, she could hear sounds of fighting in the distance. As she got closer, she had noticed the fighting had stopped and found a shadow quickly moving away. No matter the place, time, or dimension, I will always recognize your sickening aura. Anko sneered out and quickly began her pursuit. Hokage-sama, Matarashi Anko has reported she believes the infamous missing nin Orochimaru is in the Forest of Death. A Chunin reported to the Hokage in the tower, situated in the middle of the forest. Where is she now? Let me have a word with her. The Hokage demanded. Well, the thing is, sir, soon after she had dispatched me to relay the information to you, she entered the forest in pursuit of him, I believe. The Chunin replied nervously. Fool! The Hokage shouted in anger at the recklessness of his subordinate. Quickly go and send 3 Anbu teams to bring her back. Why yes sir. The Chunin disappeared in a cloud of smoke. I hope you don't do anything stupid, my dear. The Hokage sighed, suddenly feeling a bit old. I hope you come back soon Jiraiya, there are dark clouds ahead. In the shadows of the forest, a lone figure can be seen limping through the grounds. She had rips and cuts on her body and her youthful face. But her physical condition was lost on her, as the only 2 things on her mind were the pain on her neck and the man who caused it all. Damn it. God damn it. Am I still so weak? How many more lives will be wasted because of this weakness? Has all these years and nightmares been for naught? Anko screamed her frustrations in her mind. It took a while before she finally calmed down and smelled the scent of blood and lots of it coming from the east. Momentarily leaving her thoughts behind, she ventured to see what was wrong. Naruto, what happened to your back? Sakura was the first one to speak up, the others soon were able to break off from the sight of the wound. Some could feel their breakfasts trying to make a backward march from their stomachs. Even Sasuke forgot about the earlier incident and was engrossed at the sight. Up in a tree, far out of sight and undetected by any of the genins, Anko was making her own observations. She had just arrived after Naruto had woken up and is now trying to find out what happened here. That is a very nasty looking wound the loudmouth got there. I wonder what happened. Anko's eyes wandered around the group of genins. So that's the last of the Uchiha, a pretty boy, huh? Why's he holding his neck like that? I wonder if he got injured or, then it clicked. Flashback. Orochimaru was enjoying the fight he was having with his former student, Matarashi Anko. Looks like you have gotten stronger, my dear, but it's a shame you prefer the traditional method when you have that seal I so painstakingly placed on you. Well, it has been fun playing with you, but I really must dash. After all, I do need to prepare for my 2 new toys. Just make sure you tell the old man to not cancel the examination under any condition if he knows what's good for him in the village. The snake slurred out before quickly performing a just you and yellowing out, Kuchio's no jutsu. Anko was ready to fight the gigantic snake Orochimaru had placed in between them, but then the worst happened. Her seal started to activate again, and as she tried with all her willpower to stop it, she was powerless against the snake. Only thanks to her advanced taijutsu was she able to come out in one piece without using any chakra. She then hurried to find Orochimaru, but he was long gone. His last few words were lost on her as she began to lose herself to her frustrations. Back to present. Until now that is. So that snake bastard gave the seal to the Uchiha kid. This is going to create troubles ahead, but I can't help but feel I forgot something. First things first, I need to report this to the Hokage immediately. I wonder if he will stop the exam. The Junin pondered, not thinking well in her exhausted state. Sasuke was trying to hide his seal with his left hand. He didn't know what it was, but he thought it was better to leave it unknown for now. He was already pretty shaken from the flashback of his past, then his earlier incident with the Sound Nins, and now with Naruto in this state, he decided it was better to not complicate this whole thing further. As Anko got ready to jump away, she got one good look at Naruto's back. That was when her eyes came immediately back. Oh Kami-sama, you must be kidding me. That boy also has the seal as well. This is going to complicate things more than anything else. Hokage-sama is going to be concerned with the effect it will have with the Kyuubi's seal. She suddenly felt the presence of several men around her. Matarashi Anko, the Hokage-sama wishes to have a word with you. One of the Anbu members whispered to her. Sighing softly, Anko can't say she was surprised at this, with her history with Orochimaru and all. Okay, I can go there by myself. In the meantime, I want you guys to search out the forest for traces of Orochimaru and, if possible, keep an eye on the Uchiha and boy other there with the wound on his back. She pointed over to the group. You mean the Kyuubi? One of them said dryly. Yes, and if you don't want me to report you to the Hokage-sama, you should do yourself a favor and stop referring to him like that. Anko hissed out, angered by the stupidity in some people. Now I leave you to your assignment. After she left, one of the Anbu asked, what's wrong with her? A more senior member replied, I guess it has something to do with her history with Orochimaru. What happened? Well, I don't know the details, but I heard Orochimaru took someone precious to her away. But enough of this, let's start our sweep. I'll take Sector 1A, those 6A, you take. Okay, we are going to go off and continue to look for our missing scrolls. Are you guys sure you're going to be alright? Rock Lee shouted for the last time, as he walked towards his team. Yeah, we're sure, Lee-san. Thanks for all your help. Sakura shouted back happily. Lee began to get teary after hearing this and only left because his teammates had to physically drag him away, while he was busy blowing kisses to Sakura. The group took a moment to get their things together. Sakura found some soldier pills her parents had given her for safe measures, and she gave one to each boy and popped one into her own mouth. Feeling energized, she noticed how the roughly bandaged wound on Naruto's back was already getting soaked once more. So what's the plan, guys? Well, we have 25 hours left, and judging from our surroundings I say we are now farther away than before, but not by much. We should just try to get there as soon as possible. All of us are very beaten up, even the soldier pill didn't help my exhaustion like I thought it would have, and let's not forget Naruto's back. This caused Sakura to grimace, just at the thought of Naruto's gaping wound. Naruto had been unusually quiet since we woke up, and this was disturbing to say the least. Since as much as he got in the way between her and Sasuke-kun's because of his loudness, she must relent and admit that she was getting used to it. And now looking at him looking so quiet, it's just too unnerving. Okay, so let's just try to make it to the tower as soon as. Ah, Sakura-chan, your hair got shorter. Naruto shouted out of nowhere. The stunned teammates soon recovered from their face faults, and as one of them began berating Naruto on his lack of sensibility, the other merely shook his head and uttered, "Idiot," under his breath. But both genins actually sighed out of relief under their breath, thankful that Naruto was apparently back to normal. Then a voice came out from behind them, "You're the same as ever, Naruto-kun." It was Kabuto, the genin who has tried to take the exam over half a dozen times and still managed to fail each time. When he suggested he come along and help the three, Sasuke obviously was suspicious of him enough to refuse, while Naruto and Sakura, being the naive ones, were ready to befriend the stranger. Sasuke, in the end, had no choice but to relent, making a mental note to keep watch of the guy at all times. As they agreed to travel at a slow pace to both avoid dangerous traps and to conserve their strengths, Naruto used the time to go back to his dream. It was a strange dream. I can't remember all of it, but I do remember the darkness, the red color, the smell of something, and a voice. It was a smell I've known before. The same goes for the voice, as if from another lifetime. Naruto's mind drifted on as he walked. He suddenly started feel his back beginning to hurt again. When Sakura turned and looked at Naruto's back, hoping the wound had stopped, but instead she found it was pouring out more than ever. She was beginning to worry about blood loss. What is that wound? I wonder if he gave it to Naruto-kun, but it doesn't seem like his handiwork. He usually prefers to just kill. Kabuto pondered. Hey Naruto-kun, what happened to your back? It looks serious. He ventured, hoping for some answers. He sure is a curious one, isn't he? Sasuke smirked mentally. Oh, it was from the battle with some sand nins, probably nothing to worry about, I get wounds like that all the time. Naruto replied as cheerfully as he could. A lie, huh, I was watching the fight, you were asleep the whole time. Well, better not press an issue and blow my cover. Well, if you say so. Kabuto was cut short by the sound of a kunai flying in midair. They found themselves in an unusually dark part of the forest, surrounded by vines and the sound of arrogant laughter. Iruka shouted in protest, "Why are you going in my place?" Well, it's not like I want to go. My plan for the evening was a quiet night at home, reading a book by the fireplace, Kakashi said in his defense, but he couldn't help let some of his face color at the thought of the book he was planning to read for the night. I was really looking forward to the new volume. Iruka gave up. Fine, but please do me a favor and give me regard to the team, especially Naruto. Sure thing, Kakashi answered and left. It was getting too hard to control his giggling. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto shouted for what seemed like the millionth time. The fight had been going on for hours, and the four genins were quickly losing their stamina. The style of fighting their enemies have taken was irritating to say the least, though they all thought it was cowardly, they also knew that in battle, the end justifies the means. Sasuke was the calmest in his team, and even he was getting impatient. As he watched a group of Naruto attack another swarm of the fake ninjas, he got an idea in his head. He needed someone's help, and since Naruto was tied up and Sakura was too tired to do it, he had to turn to Kabuto for help. After giving him his plan, they set it in action. As Naruto prepared another group of clones, Kabuto joined him with the extra scroll the team had gotten from the sound nins in his pant leg. As they battled, Sasuke tried to suppress the sharp pains in his neck and activated his Sharingan. As Kabuto had just sliced through another fake clone, a dagger came out of the ground. That was when Sasuke launched himself at the appearing enemy. Though he came with a killing intent, he couldn't hold his concentration anymore and only managed to embed a single kunai on the ninja's hand, drawing out a trail of blood. Naruto was getting tired from all this use of his chakra. He was beginning to feel dizzy and wobbly but continued his fighting. As a familiar headache returned to his head and a familiar ache returned to his back, he began to notice a scent in the air. It didn't take him a second to think before he recognized it as blood. When did blood began to seem so distinct in smell? I know it's not mine or any of my team's. So that means it must be those ninjas. He was getting quite desperate and he ignored the fact that he didn't understand what was going on as he formulated his plan. So as he made his next group of clones, he sent one to relay his plan to the others. It didn't take long before the enemy team, so engrossed with the fight, was surrounded by the actual team. As Naruto dispelled the clones of his teammates and seated himself next to one of the now unconscious ninjas, he couldn't help but notice the looks coming from his teammates. I don't really know how I found them, must have been pure luck. Naruto replied in a white lie. Though Sakura bought this, the other two weren't that easily misled. But they knew they needed to get to the tower, so they chose to accept the lie for now. An hour later, they were finally at the tower. The team bid farewell to Kabuto and proceeded in. They had read the inscription and decided to unwrap the two scrolls. Naruto. Sakura. Throw away the scrolls, it's a summoning. Sasuke yelled to them. Immediately after they threw the scrolls a few meters away, they were surrounded by a cloud of smoke and a quick popping sound. Yo! It was Kakashi in his normal morning greeting. Great job, guys. I was planning to tease you by saying you have to fight with me, but today, I'm a little busy. You see, my girlfriend wants to have dinner with me. Liar. Sakura and Naruto yelled in unison, while Sasuke just rolled his eyes ever so slightly. Ahem. Sasuke coughed. Getting back to the important matters. So why don't you guys go to lounge area? The second part of the exam is about to be over. Rest up and come with the other teams to the arena later. Gotta go. He made a quick seal and disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving behind 3 teens shaking their head at their fortune to be paired with such a teacher. The recent events are disturbing to say the least, the Hokage announced in a meeting with many of the village's senior junins. There was not a hint of amusement on any of their faces, even the normally laid-back Kakashi had a serious frown on his eyes. Matarashi Anko, give us your report. We can definitely be sure that Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto have been endowed with the cursed seal by Orochimaru. Kakashi has just had visual confirmation of that. We still can't determine which specific seals he put on each of them, but it really doesn't matter for now. We can guess that he might be trying to make use of them somehow. Anko reported in a calm, assertive manner. Shouldn't we stop the exam and impose martial law? One of the junins asked. No, Orochimaru must be up to something, and if we stop the exam now it may cause him to react in a rash manner, and that would be the last thing that we need right now, amid this confusion. The Hokage replied, not having too much confidence in his decision but not allowing that to be shown. Besides, you all should know how important this particular exam is, especially with the shaky grounds we are in with some of the countries, lords, and villages, especially the sand. It could be taken as a sign of weakness and incite our enemies to rise and join up against us. So what are we going to do? Another one asked. I have already ordered the activation of all Anbu teams. We will boost up our information gathering division and our own defenses. As for the 2 boys, we need to do something about the seals, the Hokage pondered out loud. I believe I can do something for one of them, but I do not believe my body can handle trying to perform that seal 2 times. Kakashi answered. Fine, you will do it for Sasuke. Now as for Naruto, I would probably have to do it unless there are any other takers. The Hokage eyed each junin, some had passive faces, while others tried to not make eye contact. As the Hokage sighed at the sight before him, he was about to give up when Anko spoke up. I believe I can do something for the loud mouth, if you will permit me. The Hokage looked over Anko's serious face and decided to let her give it a try. Permission granted, you 2 are administer a quick seal for now and are to watch over the preliminary exam, and as soon as their tests have been administered, you will take them to a Anbu guarded room and perform the final sealing. You are to stop the exam at any time the seal begins to activate. Is that understood? Yes, sir, the 2 junins answered. Okay, you are all dismissed. The preliminary will start in a few hours. I suggest you all prepare for that and whatever lies ahead in our future. The Hokage said and left the room, followed by 2 ANBUs, who were waved away by him as he began to smoke his pipe. To think not only Sasuke, but Naruto, too. What are you planning, Orochimaru? If there is anyone who wishes to give up, now is the time. The Hokage looked around for those thinking about quitting. As the rest of Team 7 watched Kabuto raise his hand and walk away, Sakura's mind was elsewhere. She was deeply concerned for not only Sasuke but Naruto as well. She was torn between raising her hands and keeping quiet. Soon after going into the lounge area, each of the genin had pulled her aside and sworn her to secrecy about the seal. But right now, standing behind Naruto, her mind was really beginning to waver. After the fight, the scar had stopped bleeding and seemed to be just fine. Naruto had made her promise to not report the scar to any official nor talk to anyone about the seal. It was a strange sight for her to see Naruto so serious. The last time was during the mission at the Wave Country. For some reason, she just couldn't find it in herself to say no. Now, however, her right arm was rising on its own accord. But before she could do anything, she felt a hand pull it down. It was Naruto's hand. He leaned close to her ear and whispered some words for her ears alone to hear. Then he simply let go and turned around, leaving a slightly stunned Sakura without any more will left in her to raise her arms. Okay, that should be all of them. the Hokage summed up as no more hands were raised. We shall now take a short 15-minute break for us to heal any of your injuries while we get the arena ready. Dismissed. As the genins disbanded into their own little groups, Team 7 saw their sensei walking toward them. Hey guys, I need to take Sasuke away for some treatment. I'll be right back. Before Naruto could protest, they both puffed away in a thin air of smoke. Naruto was about ready to fume at the special attention Sasuke was receiving when he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned around and found himself unintentionally staring at the female examiner's well-endowed body. Trying to shake off his blush, Naruto coughed slightly, trying to avoid eye contact, and asked, "Who are you?" "Who am I? I have never been so insulted before. How can you not know about the kunoichi who is just as well known for her beauty as her skills? Remember this and remember it well, I am the prize of the Konoha, Matarashi Anko." The examiner finally finished her introduction. Naruto and Sakura simply facepalted at the girl. Why do the weird ones always come to me? Is there any more perverts or weirdos that are going to show up in my future? Naruto sighed and decided to ask, "What do you want with me?" "Naruto, I need to heal your wounds before the preliminary, so come with me for a second." And before sounds of protest could come out, they also disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving behind a shocked and irritated Sakura feeling alone. In a room somewhere in the tower, the pair was having hard time getting used to one another. Naruto was still depressed over his fortune and the fact they found out about the seal and the scar. "What are you getting depressed for? You have me, the beautiful Anko, here to accompany you, what can be better?" Anko countered as she finished lighting a few candles in a small circle. Naruto was about to counter when he was reminded of his blush earlier and decided to keep quiet. "Okay, now remove your jacket and bandage, then come stand here in the circle," Anko told him, glad to have made an impact on him. Naruto was feeling unusually shy around the Junin, and he didn't know why. For one thing, he never had talked with a girl older than him without being cursed at, except at the ramen place. So he took off his jacket and unwrapped his bandage, then got in the circle, facing away from the Junin. Anko found it amusing the reaction she was getting from the blonde boy and decided to tease him a little. She put her hands on his shoulders, leaned forward, and whispered in his left ear, "Relax." She could sense the tensing of the kid's muscles and really did want to tease him some more, but looking at his wound, she was reminded of the seriousness of the matter at hand. She then began to make a completed set of seals and made a one-handed seal on her left hand. When she finally got it ready, she pressed it on top of the cursed seal. Immediately the candles in the circle flickered as chakra leaked into the room, as the cursed seal began to fade in and out of the skin. Then as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. The cursed seal had finally faded out. Anko let out a breath of relief that she didn't realize she was holding and patted the kid's shoulder. "You are all set, kid." But when she got no reaction, she turned her face back to him just in time to see him drop to the group and the scar on his back beginning to glow a faint bright color. She ran to him, dropping to her knees and began shaking him. "Naruto. Hey Naruto. Naruto. Can you hear me? Naruto." Naruto woke up, not to shakings or a well-lit room but into a dark, damp tunnel, the same tunnel that was in his previous dream. Before he could think of anything, he heard it. "Hey brat." It was a different voice this time. "Erant na ad nostri properi skelly esient in nostra exilia." Pervert. The shout rattled the normally quiet streets of Konoha. The people on the street, curious at what happened, took a look, but when they spotted a white-haired man step out of a bar with a red hand print on his left cheek, they simply shook their head and resumed their journeys. "Geez, how am I supposed to get the materials for Volume 8 when the girls here are so rough?" The man complained to no one as particular, but on a second thought, he smirked. "Well, I do like them spicy like this. It's been a long time I've been back and I get this as a welcome," the man with the tattooed eye sighed. I think I'm just in time for the Chunin exam, might as well head over for a look," The bathhouses are still filled with old hags right now, the beauties ain't coming, till the evening. Thus the weird figure began walking toward the forest of death. Everyone got out of his way, not from fear of his power but his behavior. It's not every day they see a exotically dressed old man blushing and giggling down the street. It was definitely a different voice. The soothing tone filled with sadness and remorse was gone. This voice was one filled with venom, hatred, contempt, and pure rage. It was the voice of an untamable beast. Naruto could feel himself shaking, not from fear, but from the pressure of the raw hatred emanating from the far corner of the tunnel. He looked to his right to find the opening he saw last time and found the way blocked by a weird-looking seal. It was different from last time. He heard the growling in the distance and began to make his way toward the source of the sound. "You are pitiful, brat." The voice boomed throughout the tunnel, echoing in the distance. "Who are you?" Naruto yelled back, undaunted by the voice. "I am you." Naruto could even hear the smirk in the voice. "What do you mean?" Naruto uttered with suspicion. "We are one and the same. Born in the realm of light, abandoned into the pits of despair, and crawling out only to fulfill our deepest desire." The cyanical voice laughed as he finished answering. "And what is that?" Naruto asked, uncertain whether he really wanted to know or not. Why else would any of us forsaken creations of God exist? To kill, of course. By now, Naruto had come quite close to the source of the voice. He could feel fiery breaths of air pushing against him at every syllable. He wanted to come closer, but he noticed in front of him the ground was missing. He inched closer to the ledge and couldn't make out the bottom of the pit from the dim lights. So he looked back at the source of the voice. "I am not damned, and I do not want to kill anyone." Naruto yelled in response. "Really now? Who do you think you are lying to, brat? I know you better than you know yourself. I've heard your pleads for deaths and destruction in the deepest and darkest recesses of your mind. We are one and the same." As the voice spoke, Naruto could even imagine the smile that grazed the face of the voice as it finished talking. "Who the hell are you?" Naruto was losing the last of his composure. "Who the hell? That's funny, brat, because I am hell. I am the hell that you've lived through all your life, if you can call it a life. Are you really satisfied living like this?" The voice challenged. "As long as there are a few people in my bleak existence who recognize me for me, I'll be okay." Naruto tried to sound confident, but as he felt the glare of this creature upon him, his belief began to waver. "Listen to yourself, brat. Humans are truly sickened and greedy creatures. They were endowed a place in Eden, but they chose to become gods themselves by eating the fruits of knowledge. In the midst of a race of people with insatiable greed and lust for power, we have an oddity in you, content with the illusion of just a few people recognizing you." The voice mocked angrily. "Shut up. You don't know me. This is my life and my existence. I will choose my own fate." Naruto could feel his blood rushing through his body. When the voice laughed at his rebuttal like it was a joke, Naruto was getting ready to jump over the missing platform to whatever fate has in store for him on the other side. He didn't even notice that he was clenching his fist so hard that it was drawing out blood. "You are depressing me, brat. You are truly pathetic. So I leave you with this single punishment. I will allow you to live as you have been and we'll see just how well your plan is going to work out. I want to see the look on your face when the people, whom you hang onto so dearly, betray you." The voice began to fade away and the tunnel began to darken. "Who the hell are you?" Naruto screamed back, finding nothing else to say. "You'll find out, brat. I'll be watching you, till then." The voice was barely above a whisper. When the lights had finally dimmed out, Naruto found the ground below him collapsing and threw himself behind, onto what he hoped was solid ground. Anko had given up trying to wake Naruto up. She was relieved when she found out he was just sleeping peacefully on the floor. She used her arms to carry the boy to the nearby bed and laid him on his stomach to examine his wound. "It's a stranger scar. It doesn't seem to have been made by any weapon or jutsus I've ever heard of. The cut is deep, rough yet clean. I do not sense any evidence of damaged tissue." It's as if none of the cells are broken, simply divided along this line. Maybe that's why I don't see evidence of blood clots forming on the surface of the wound, but that doesn't explain how he got it. According to Kakashi's classified report that she had read shortly after the meeting with the Hokage, she thought such a wound should have at least started to patch itself up with the Kyuubi's powers. She was deep in her thought when Naruto started to thrash lightly in his bed. At first, she thought it was kind of cute how the boy was still so innocent despite all he has been through. She was starting to worry a little, so she thought to check his pupils to see if they were dilated. She used one hand to open his eyelids and looked in, only find a red abyss staring back at her. She would have jumped back had she not seen it before. How long has it been since I've seen that eye? That haunting yet intoxicating eye. How long has it been since I've thought of him? But she knew in her heart, his image came up every night in her dreams and nightmares, though sometimes with him there, it was hard to tell which it was. It was then that the thought suddenly struck her, the uncanny resemblance between the boy lying in front of him and the man who has stayed in her mind for what seemed like an eternity. It was the attitude, the personality, the face, the hair color, and, most of all, the eye. But it couldn't be, could it? He didn't have any child with that woman, and even if he did, why would he turn the child into the Kyuubi vessel? Was he the kind of man who would forsake his own child for the sake of his village? She continued to ponder about her newly made discovery as she sat next to the boy, not noticing how her fingers were voluntarily tracing the scar on his back. She was finally snapped out of revere by the sight of blood oozing out of Naruto's tightly clenched fists. Trying as hard as she could, she had no way of stopping him. Then suddenly without warning, the boy woke up and launched himself at her. As she struggled to get the boy away, she noticed he wasn't awake yet. She was about to slap his face, when she noticed the tears on his eyes. They were tears of blood. Suddenly, the door sprang open and in came Sakura, here to retrieve the two to the arena. Naruto has found himself in darkness once more. Everything the voice had said to him struck a chord within him, and he couldn't help but sob at the memories of his life. As he began to sink deeper and deeper into the dark abyss, he felt warmth around him. It was something he never felt before. Naruto lazy sat up and rubbed his eyes, noting on the back of his mind how sore they were. Then he noticed his surroundings. Lying below him in a very well misunderstood position was Anko. Before he could even apologize, he felt a movement toward his face from the side. They were walking quietly towards the arena. Sakura was in front, obviously angry. Naruto was behind her, clutching his right cheek in pain. Is there a jutsu for slapping? I think Sakura just used it on me, my face feels really swollen. What was her problem anyways? Naruto mumbled in his mind. Meanwhile, Sakura was busy doing her own cursing. I can't that Naruto was actually a pervert. Just as I was beginning to be nice to him, he shows his true color. That slap serves him right. With their faces and body movements showing their expressions earnestly, Anko was having a hard time trying to keep her laughs from coming out. Naruto couldn't take any more, and finally decided to be a man and be the first to try to resolve the situation. Look, Sakura-chan, I really didn't do that on purpose. I was having a nightmare, then later I found myself in a compromising position like that and you come in with your slap on the face. It really wasn't my fault. But before Sakura had a chance to respond, Anko decided to have a little fun and came up behind Naruto, whispered in his ear loud enough for Sakura to hear. Oh Ray Ali, are you sure it doesn't just mean you are subconsciously in love with me and that was your way of showing it? You're a little young for my usual taste, but there's a first time for everything you know. She finished with a wink. Sakura, seeing Naruto's blush, was about to either walk up to him and deliver a slap to his other cheek or stomp away when Anko finally gave up trying to hold it in. You two are hilarious. Lighten up, would you? What are you guys, dating or something? She chuckled under her breath. As Naruto blushed at this and looked at an equally embarrassed Sakura, Sakura noticed this and recovered by her usual rebuttal. No way. Why in the world would I date him? Sasuke-kun is the only one for me. She shouted, stomping away in rage. If she had turned around, she would have seen the hurt flashing before Naruto's face. Anko, however, did notice it. And summing the pieces together, she figured out the situation between the members of Team 7. Foolish girl. That boy will never see you as you want him to. If you spend all your time and effort trying to reach that castle in the sky, you will miss the things around you. Trust me, I know from experience. She said, shaking her head and ending it with a sigh. Naruto couldn't blame Anko for this, since it wasn't her fault. He could have no one to blame but himself. So he put on his classic "I'm Naruto, I'm always fine" grin and started walking to the arena again. But Anko was not fooled, for it reminded her of her own fake smile that aimed to not only fool those around her but also herself as well. As the three made it to the arena, they could see the first match finishing up. Sakura and Naruto went up to the bleachers, while Anko joined the Sandaime in the front of the arena. She took a moment before whispering what had just transpired, though leaving the end part out, to the Hokage, who merely nodded. The matches went on one by one. Naruto was having a hard time concentrating as he couldn't help but think back to his dream. I don't care what that voice said. I know myself best. My dream is to become the Hokage. Naruto tried to confirm for himself. And if I don't have that dream, what else would I have left? As he went deeper and deeper into doubt, he began to lose track of time. Until finally, shouts of surprise awoke him from his thoughts. It took him a moment to see what was happening. Ino was lying collapsed on the floor while Sakura was just standing there. Naruto was about to shout in joy when he heard Sakura's words. See Sakura, I won fair and square, better luck next time. Ref, please call. Sakura-chan, what the hell are you doing? Are you going to give up now? Didn't you want to become stronger? Naruto shouted as he finally realized what had happened. Are you an idiot? There's no way she can do anything even if she heard you. I'm in control of her body now and this match is mine. Think again, Ino pig. Inner Sakura had awoken after Naruto's shout. The battle resumed its full course. Though it ended with a draw, Naruto was proud of Sakura for doing her best in the match. He was able to help her out, even if it's just a small push in the right direction. As medic Nins left the two girls to sleep and rest on the bleachers, thus allowed the next match to begin, Sakura was having a dream about her childhood. Flashback. A 6-year-old Naruto was playing by himself when he saw a familiar pink-haired girl walking by. She was clumsy and often made mistakes, thus was often the object of teasing. It really was an exact opposite of Naruto, whom everyone just ignored. She was walking around in her newly bought shoes, jumping in the rain, like any little kids enjoyed to do, when she slipped. She fell face first into a pool of mud. The other kids hurried to her and as she got up, they couldn't help but laugh at her appearance. The mud had left a ring on her two eyes and left a long line on her forehead. With half of her body covered in mud, she looked amazingly like a pink raccoon with single eyebrow. Being the creative children they were, many of them already thought of nicknames for her. As Sakura cringed and began to get teary when she heard the first, unibrow Rako. A yell was heard as the kids momentarily stopped and looked back at the playground as they saw Naruto sliding face down the slide. As he got near the edge, he tried to stop himself, but with little chubby hands, he couldn't and fell face first into the mud. He slowly got up, covered in mud, and uttered a soft, "Oops, I slipped," laughing sheepishly. The roar of laughter was louder than ever as the other kids, forgetting about the raccoon, and focused their attention at the idiot boy. Even Sakura stopped crying and joined in the laughter. All the while, Naruto just scratched the back of his and joined in the laughter as the other kids laughed and called him an idiot. He, meanwhile, took one side glance at Sakura, which she noticed had a sense of joy and satisfaction. End of flashback. Sakura felt herself slowly waking up. She felt dead tired but she was concentrating on that dream. That was such a long time ago, I wonder why I remembered just now. I can't believe Naruto actually covered for me. If he didn't, that nickname would have stuck with me forever, and I'm sure that Ino Pig would have used it by now. I don't know if he remembers, but I really better thank him for it later on. She was snapped out of her thoughts and jolted wide awake when she heard the next match was up. She opened her eyes, scanned her surroundings and found the board. It read, Uzumaki Naruto vs. Inuzuka Kiba. The two fighters came down to the arena and looked over each other. Kiba always had very little opinion of Naruto, he simply saw him as a worry-free prankster. He figured the only reason why he had it so far in the exam was thanks to his teammate, the rookie genius, Uchiha Sasuke. He felt lucky that he was to be paired against someone whose nickname is actually, dead last. Sensing an easy victory, he thought he'd taunt his opponent a little, just for the hell of it. To think, of all the people I could fight, it had to be dead last, Kiba shouted arrogantly. Naruto would have normally lost it by just that, but right now, he had a headache. He has felt a dulling sensation ever since he left the infirmary in that awkward manner, and instead of going away, it simply got stronger. It didn't feel like any sort of headache he has ever felt before. Rather than a sense of pain, he felt as if someone was wrapping a blanket around his head. He could barely make out the words coming from Kiba's mouth. Cat got your tongue, dead last. Kiba was beginning to get annoyed at the lack of an outburst from the normally loud-mouthed boy. Meanwhile, everyone else in the arena was making their own predictions as to the match. I don't quite know the full capabilities of this boy, but if Kiba fights fully and seriously, he should have no problem. Kurenai concluded with confidence. What the hell is Naruto doing? Inner Sakura was screaming as Sakura watched the match with worry. Start insulting the dog boy. She still had trouble remembering names of any other boy other than Sasuke. Kiba-kun, you really should stop hurting Naruto-kun's feeling like that. Hinata was watching with worry and confusion, trying to decide whether to support her friend and teammate or her crush. Uzumaki Naruto, huh, I wonder what fate holds for you. Neji thought. Show me what you can do, kid. Anko thought with a smirk, then frowned, why are you so quiet all of a sudden? What was that thing on his back a while back? Shikamaru furrowed his eyebrows and crossed his arms to contemplate, however, no feasible answer came to mind, so he sighed and went with his signature remark. This is so troublesome. He was not the only one to remember the sight some of the people in this arena had seen earlier. Some had automatically put it in the back of their minds so they could concentrate in the matches, while others tried to forget like normal humans by trying to deceive themselves to think it was some sort of illusion. The shock from the scene had still not worn off from their minds. Single quote. I hope this match won't go by worse than Sasuke's. The Hokage prayed to himself. He then suddenly felt the aura of someone with an immense amount of chakra behind him, and finally, for the first time today, he smiled. The boy sure knows how to say all the wrong words at the wrong time. The voice came from behind the Hokage and the examiners. They turned around to find what the Hokage had recognized instantly, one of the legendary Sennin, Jiraiya. Welcome back, Jiraiya, your timing couldn't have been better. The Hokage told his former student. Well, this is the season when girls start using the bathhouse. Jiraiya suddenly forgot whose presence he was in front of and coughed. Ahem, is that boy who I think he is? To which the Hokage gave a small nod. Looks like I was right to stop by the village, even though I missed the annual bikini judging competition at the water country. As the Hokage and others watched the Sennin suddenly daydreaming and blushing, those who didn't know the legendary Sennin had questions hanging from their face, and the ones who knew him well could only shake their head. After a while, the Hokage's attempts at coughing seemed to have snapped Jiraiya out of his fantasies and back into reality. It's really a wonder how quickly the man can go from a pervert to a Sennin in 60 nanoseconds flat. Soon, their attention was soon on the match once more. What the hell is wrong with you, huh? Speak up. Kiba felt himself in such a fury over the lack of emotion over Naruto's features that he decided it was time to attack. He yelled out, Gatsuga. Piercing Fang, and put himself in a spin, aimed at Naruto, who meanwhile had his head down and showed no response to this attack at all. The force from the attack pushed Naruto's back into the stone wall. The dent his body created in the concrete wall had blood stains on it. Many of the spectators had a guess to where the blood came from. For a while he showed no sign of trying to get up, so Kiba assumed with the evidence of the blood that this was it. Hey, ref, you might as well call it a match now, he announced with a smirk. As the ref, annoyed at the loud-mouthed kid telling him what to do, came between them, prepared to announce the winner, he suddenly noticed Naruto's hands twitching. Why? Naruto said in a whisper, barely loud enough for anyone else to hear. He then proceeded to stand up, the debris falling off his shoulders and hair as he raised himself to his legs once more, with his head still down. Those in the arena strained their ears to listen. Why does it have to be like this? Another soft whisper came. What are you, an idiot? Kiba, angered more so by the way Naruto shrugged off his best solo piercing Fang attack than by his attitude at the minute. So he got ready for his favorite style of attack. Giving a small nod to his canine companion, Orochimaru, he made a quick seal and called out, Jujuin Bunshin no Jutsu. Beast human form no jutsu. Even with two Kibas now on the field, Naruto still showed no sign of any emotion at all. Be patient, Kiba, don't let your frustrations control you. Kurenai was now trying her hands on telepathy. She was truly frustrated by how quickly Kiba had started using this move. I hope Naruto is behaving this way on purpose. Many others were having similar thoughts as the Hokage as they watched the canine pair continue to attack relentlessly at Naruto. What the hell is the kid doing? It can't be the seal, I can clearly see that it has not been activated yet. Anko found herself worrying about the genin she had not even knew existed 12 hours ago. Sakura was trying to worry about Naruto, but found herself torn between her worry for him and Sasuke. Even when she finally decided to just worry about the teammate that she might actually help a little with, she found herself at a loss to what words of encouragement she could utter. The only person I've ever cheered for and supported has been Sasuke-kun. Gosh, even the bad first impression Lee-san got more support from me than I ever showed Naruto. It'll be weird if I suddenly do it now, so maybe it's better if I just support him spiritually. And for the first time ever, inner Sakura glared at herself. As the battle went on, the confusion and looks of worry on some of the faces couldn't be hidden any longer. Whenever the spectators got a clear look at Naruto before Kiba proceeded to attack again, the favorite orange jumpsuit on his body would be shredded a little more and a little bit more bruises would show up on his body. Yet he would get up again and again, every once in a while whisper some more. The repetitions of these full-fledged attacks was even tiring Kiba and his little companion out by now. Some were beginning to wonder if Naruto had fallen unconscious by now and was only getting up through sheer willpower. None of them knew how close to the truth they were as Naruto fell on his hands and knees, still with his head down. Naruto no longer heard any of the insults or felt any of the attacks of Kiba anymore. All he truly took notice was of the fact that, as usual, not a single voice spoke out in his defense nor a single soul came out to his aid. This has always been his life. Flashback. A 5-year-old Naruto is timidly walking down the street when he notices a young couple in front of him dropping a wallet. Seeing a chance to do a good deed, he picks it up and runs toward the young couple. He lightly taps them, puts on his best smile, and holds out the wallet. Anyo-sa, I picked up this. A cold slap met his left cheek. Not only are you a monster, but a thief as well. You sicken me, the female uttered in disgust. And no, I didn't. The young Naruto stuttered in panic. It's all right, darling, I'll protect you from this fiend. Her male companion spoke up and wrapped one of his arms around her. Why do you hate me so? People nearby came near them and joined in. What's going on here? Oh, you, go back to your own kind. He stole this nice couple's wallet. It's not true. Naruto wanted to run away. He looked around, Not a single heart came to his defense. Only a wall of contempt surrounded him with absolutely no way out. What? And after all our generosity toward you, allowing you to actually live in our village and, in the process, endanger our safety and that of our children. You will still do something like this? Why is my existence a curse? Stop. Naruto was in tears. Well, it is to be expected of a creature like him. Stop. Naruto felt his knees give out under the pressure of the crowd. Why is he even still alive? Why was I born? Kern Nasker. I guess the Hokage wants some sort of trump card if the village ever goes to war. Am I not like you? Sumney smiles Tay. Oh, so he's just a tool, right? Isn't that obvious? We humans are the children of God, how can this thing be one of us? Where is God? Und est Nadeus. Maybe if we try to ignore him, he will disappear. Why even try to ignore him? I never acknowledged his existence before in my life. Why do I exist? Quidna existo. End of flashback. What was my sin? Quidnam est na meus nefas. Everyone in the arena could now hear Naruto perfectly, and it was startling. Even if the fact that he is speaking in an unrecognizable tongue is ignored, the dramatic change in the sound of his voice couldn't be. Why must I suffer so? Quidna agion dolorer. It was a tone of one who has given up all hope of living and a mood of hatred so deep it could make the flesh bleed. Paired this all up with a voice that possessed a madman's depth and an angel's serenity, the result was one that did not belong to a 12-year-old boy. Does God have no mercy? Haben Deus ne clementiam? Oi, ref, I think you should stop the match now, the boy's hallucinating. Kiba tried to ignore what was happening and just waved it off as a last desperate trick done by the prankster. On the bleachers, however, all eyes were still on Naruto. He had his head down and was on his hands and knees, as if in a trance. His shirt was just about gone by now, including the bandages wrapped around his scar. For the first time, Kiba and some of the others in the arena saw the scar. Those who did not feel a little queasy had a stunned impression on their face. Suddenly, they could see that the seal Anko had made earlier, suddenly appearing again on Naruto's neck. Then it began to glow a bright orange color. Then, like a paper in flame, it began to burn itself off the skin and disappear. Can my tainted hands ever be cleansed? Purgati erantna semper infecti me levi. That was a seal I spent years on developing, how did it just disappear just now? Expecting the cursed seal to now appear, Anko got ready to signal for the match to be stopped. But then she noticed the scar on Naruto's back beginning to glow a deep red as blood began to flow from it once more. Instead of just freely flowing down, it collected itself right at the bottom of the scar, in the middle of Naruto's back. An ear-shattering scream of pain from Naruto prompted all of them to notice that the scar was beginning to move. While the base at the middle of his back stayed there, the upper end was beginning to swirl clockwise. It was then that Anko and a few others noticed, it had become something resembling the swirl of the cursed seal. As the scar stopped swirling, the edge of it suddenly made a slash backward, creating a hook pointing in the other direction. To see the rendering I did myself, go to the link in my profile page. Closing parenthesis. It's been a long time since I've seen something like that, I wished it had been an eternity. Jiraiya watched with dread. However, there is something odd about this particular one. What is happening to you, Naruto? Please be okay. Sakura prayed under her breath. Why didn't you say something like that earlier? Inner Sakura was shouting in her mind. Or must I rebel against God to break free? Adna indigio insurger contra diem ut abrumpavi liberum. With those words, a hint of light began to be emitted from his body. The people around him saw only a snarling mouth under his lowered head. His hair then began to grow longer and darkened slightly. Soon it had grown long enough that it no longer spiked like before and had grown into a dirty blonde type of color. It was then that the transformation on his back stopped and his hair stopped growing. Suddenly, his snarl turned into a fox-like grin. However, it was not the same friendly and cocky type they were used to, and he began to raise his head. In place of his once gentle blue eyes was now a set of scorching red. He looks just like. The Hokage and Jiraiya stared wide-eyed at the replica of the fourth's image in front of them. The other Junins recognized the similarity as well, but not all of them understood why the eyes were red. Those eyes? He was the only with those eyes. Why do you have them, Naruto? Anko felt herself going weak from just the sight of those eyes. For a while Kiba was just plain stunned. The same can be said to all the genins and even ninja present. It was then Kiba felt a fear in him that he had not experienced before. He felt himself panicking over what to do, so he decided to trust his instincts and attack. However, as he got ready, he felt Orochimaru, in his Bunshin form, violently shaking his head in fear. Normally, Kiba would have listened to his canine companion, but right now, he wasn't his normal self. So he took his stance alone and attacked. The dust covered half the arena as the attack continued. Then as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. Not a single sound could be heard from below as the spectators all leaned against the rail in suspense. When the dust had cleared, everyone can see Naruto just standing there with cuts all over his body, the smirk never leaving his face. Naruto slowly moved his arm into the air, looked at a particular wide wound, now gushing out blood under the bright lights of the arena, admiring how it glistened in the light. Then with a graceful movement, he brought it to his face and, with eyes of hunger and lips of lust, he trailed his tongue over the wound, soaking up all the excess blood. He then closed his mouth, apparently savoring the taste before swallowing the blood, and then brought his arm back down. As he formed a wicked grin of contentment, his face, mixed with the tiny trickle of blood leaking down the left corner of his lips, looked like the manifestation of the devil itself. It really has been 2 lunings since I tasted something this good, he uttered in slurred speech, then for the first time he turned his scorching gaze toward his opponent, who cringed under the abyss. But I bet there are things that tastes much better. Then with a smirk on his face, he got into an unusual stance and said in an eerie smile, "Oi, dog breath, you ready to start this slaughter?" In his short 13 years on this mortal world, Kiba had never truly known fear. The protective nature his parents gave him, just like wolves would give their cubs, had given him an unrivaled sense of security. He had always believed that wherever he was, those who loved him would always be there with him. But now, standing in the presence of an entity that he knew was on a whole different level, he has never felt so alone before. Naruto had been in that odd stance for a few minutes now. He is standing, still with that sadist look on his face, with his arms positioned as if he was meditating. He had both palms opened with only the thumb, index, and middle finger sticking out. On anyone else this stance wouldn't have looked so odd, but plastered with a facial expression that seemed as confident and deadly as what Naruto had on at the moment, not one person in the arena would have been foolish enough to rush in head first. However, Kiba wasn't one known for thinking straight under pressure. For a dead last, why you have improved a bit, but in the end, a dead last is always a dead last. Kiba's voice may have held some confidence, but Naruto could sense otherwise. He decided to attack once more, and this time, only for the sake of his master, did his canine companion come along. They each aimed their attacks on their opponent's vital organs. Naruto was not reacting at all to any of these attacks. In this pool of darkness I have existed for as long as I've known. Only here do I belong, and only in here do I exist. The pair had created enough confusions with their earlier ones to use their final one. 2 simultaneous assault on the temples of their opponent, and, without a doubt, it could prove fatal to its victim. To exist is my only purpose. To live is my hope. I will not fade away. Be it for a moment or an eternity, I will exist it. You shall not end my futile existence. Suddenly Naruto's hands moved towards the torsos of his attackers as he guided his own body down. The sound of broken bones could be heard as Naruto's fingers slammed deep enough for them to rupture the same rib bone on each assaulter. For those in the arena who had the ability to see it, they could see Naruto ducking below his 2 opponents while he used his fingers, embedded in their chests, to guide them on a collision course. The slow motion of the blood spraying out from the wound and the look of pure insanity on Naruto's face was something that only a few spectators in the arena remembered seeing before. For those who haven't, even when some turned their heads away in horror, Anko and Sakura could not find the ability to even blink. For what seemed like an eternity, the two headed towards one another. Then at the last second, Naruto's seemed to have gotten even more wicked, if that was at all possible, and he released his fingers from their bodies. Then he jumped back into a handstand with his legs folded. He then aimed a thunderous kick towards the already wounded torsos of the two. The two bodies were flying towards the opposite wall like dolls. Their impact made a crater that held the imprint of half their body. As they dropped onto the floor only due to gravity, Naruto got back on his feet and began to slowly approach the two. After a long time, Kiba finally began to stir. "You were right, dog breath." That blood-curdling voice snapped him out of his yearning for this to be just a bad nightmare and brought his attention back at the harsh reality that was in front of him. Those eyes of blood stared back at him with such intensity. "I am a dead last, alone in this world, probably for all of eternity." The raw emotion in these words was washing over the entire arena. "What have you gone through?" Sakura suddenly realized she didn't know much about Naruto at all, and she only knew him as a grinning idiot who, up until recently, was constantly things between her and Sasuke-kun. She then made a promise in the back of her mind to try to get to know the real Naruto under the shell better. Have you ever known a darkness so pitched that it freezes the heart? Or a pain so cruel that it numbs the soul? As he said this, Naruto began to slowly raise his right hand to his face with the fingers spread in a way so that the palm covers the nose, while the index and middle finger reaches the corner of the eyebrows, the thumb covers the right cheek, and the ring and pinky covers the left cheek. The result was a look of pure insanity. "What has happened to you, Naruto?" Both Anko and Sakura wondered with dread. "Yondaime, it looks that this village has failed you on your last request." The Hokage thought in remorse. "Laughter, joy, love, and friends. These things that you know so well, they are mere words to me." In this position, he contemplated for a while and then, as his feature became even more menacing if it was possible, and he began to walk with unusual grace towards Kiba. He had an air of dominance around him as he moved, each step echoing loudly in the silent arena, and each strand of the lengthy hair swaying in the invisible wind. "You sure got a lot of bark," he remarked casually as he slowly moved toward Kiba, who was starting to back away. "It makes me very curious as to how's your bite." With that said, he moved his hands to his side and ran toward his prey, making that lethal-looking form on his hands. Kiba saw this but didn't know what to do. He looked to his side and found his faithful companion still knocked out. So he did the best thing he could, run. Using his piercing fang technique, he tried to evade Naruto however he could. Yet with every turn he made, Naruto was right on his heel. Even using techniques that could elude the most dangerous predators in the wild, Naruto could not be lost at all. It was as if he was something on a different level now, beyond the laws of nature. Kiba didn't know how long he could keep his speed up any longer, as his stamina was fading fast. Yet whenever he eased up a bit, Naruto would quickly come and give him a strange attack that held no pain but numbs the entire region. The last one hit his left thigh, and he could not feel it at all now. He could feel himself moving slower and slower, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't speed himself up again. He then looked behind him and noticed Naruto wasn't there any longer, then turning his head back in dread, his face just got there in time to meet Naruto's right knee. The pain was excruciating. For a long time, Kiba forgot about the match from his pain. He knew his jaw was probably broken. Then as he moved his hands around, he suddenly couldn't feel them anymore. To be exact, he couldn't feel the rest of his body anymore. When he finally opened his eyes to what the others in the arena were already seeing, panic couldn't describe what he was feeling. Both his arms and legs were now in a purplish blue. He knew from what his parents had taught him that it was due to his limbs not getting the blood circulation they needed, but he didn't know how it happened. But before he could think any more, he heard screams nearby. Naruto was sprawled on the floor and banging his head against the concrete pavement. Quote. Confute. Confute obsider meus animus cum memoria me mortorum. Agnosco I am aduc lacrimum Christi serverant mhi. The sound of Naruto's head hitting the pavement echoed throughout the arena. The judge could not decide what to do, so he had to let the match continue because not one of them seems to be in a better condition than the other. Kiba's eyes were glued on the sight of the menace that had chased him like a hawk just moments ago, now cracking the block of stone under his head. He would have taken advantage of the situation had he still been able to move, but he had found just moving his jaw hurt. It was then he heard that high-frequency noise only those close to the canines had the ability to hear. Orochimaru was jolted awake by the piercing screams from Naruto and was trying to signal his master. He could tell that he would have to attack by himself in order to use this last opportunity they had. Getting strength back into his transformed form, he knew he had only a single attack left in him, and so he planned to aim it at the skull of his opponent. The cap on the head that was the thinnest and had the greatest chance of causing his opponent to go unconscious. The dust from the attack filled the entire arena once more. Even the Hokage found himself holding his breath, not knowing what will happen next. Kiba found himself so curious that after struggling for a while he finally found the energy to walk closer. He found that his arms and legs were getting better with every passing second. Then something jumped out of the dusts. Expecting the worst, Kiba instinctively covered his face, only to be met by a cold lick to his left forearm. He was so relieved by his companion being well that he almost forgot to check up on the status of his opponent. But once he remembered, he was relieved to find Naruto lying unconscious on the ground. Oh crap! Jiraiya suddenly noticed something odd at the sight in front of him and hurried toward Kiba. Just as he was about to shout for the ref to come and call the match to an end before something weird happened again, he felt teeth sinking into arms. Then to his horror, attached to his arm was no longer his small furry friend but a red-eyed Naruto. And off in the distance, the Naruto on the ground had transformed into Orochimaru. Kiba passed out from the pain and the exhaustion of the match right there and then, but Naruto still had his mouth latched onto him. Suddenly Naruto felt a sharp pain to his right shoulder blade and felt himself going unconscious. The last thing he saw was an white-haired man looking down at him with concern written all over his face. Looks like a pervert. With that, Naruto drifted off to sleep.